Hello, Revere, and welcome to another great show. Today I have another great guest. His name is David Ramos. He's the Senior Director of Informatics. He'll tell you exactly what that is. David, thank you for coming on the show, and it's a pleasure and honor to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's a
Tell us
pleasure to be
exactly
here.
what you do, your title, which is Director of Informatics, but what is informatics?
Informatics is basically how we use data to drive business. I work for a healthcare company, and one of the things we're looking to do is really transform the healthcare industry. If you think about how the internet has impacted all the different industries, there are three main ones that really have not yet to be disrupted. That's healthcare, that's education, and that's government. So I joined my organization because they're really passionate about using data to help people live longer and better lives. Transforming the way we have is, some would argue that we have sick care, not health care. And how do we use data? How do we get information from devices like your watch, your medical devices, information around claims, other people who have illnesses that are like you, that are the same profile, things that can help change your behavior so that you can better live longer. So that's what I do. I take that data, capture that data from all over, and we build products. I'm a product guy, data-centric products that help consumers, patients, doctors, anybody related to the medical field optimize.
So do you work a lot with the hospitals, if I may ask?
I work more with data, so I'm behind the scenes, with the computers, capturing the data, and we work with our business partners. Work with the hospitals and capture what they need, and then they come to us from a product perspective and say, how can we meet these objectives? How can we take these requirements and build a system? And that's what I do.
So you sell, but you don't sell any products. I mean, you sell the data.
That's right. The product being a data product and not an actual product. So I don't do any sales. I just take in requests, take in ideas, how we can leverage data, how we can apply things like machine learning to data to be more predictive and be able to identify causes and issues and behaviors that impact health.
Pretty good. Now, you're running for Councillor At-Large. What in the world made you decide to do that? Because that's not easy. That covers the whole city.
It does, it does. And, when I was first asked about it, I got to tell you, my first reaction was, no, that's not for me. But I thought about it, and actually God put in my heart that, you need to do this. And, service and giving back has always been a real big part of my life. I was an Eagle Scout. I'm a leader at our local church, Impact Church in Medford. I've always done a lot in the community. When my wife and we lived in Japan for a little while. When we first went there, we didn't know anybody. So one of the things that we wanted to do was get to know our neighbors, get to know the people around us. So we started volunteering. And when we moved to Revere, we did the same thing, and we started getting involved in the neighborhood, participating in the Beachmont Improvement Committee, volunteering with the Special Olympics, and finding anything that we could do around that could give back. I mean, I've been blessed. I've had an opportunity to work with startups that have been successful. I've worked for very large organizations. I've worked for Oracle. I've worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers and KPMG, and I've been blessed in life, and I want to be able to give back, and that's really why I decided to run. And I see Revere has a ton of potential, and but that potential is not new. It's not new, right? We've had 3 T-stops. We have always been on the border of Boston. We have the main thoroughfares, so we have this potential. It's about capitalizing on potential. It's about being able to take that potential and turn it into something, turn it into action. And as a product guy, I live for that. I love that. It's what drives me. It's, that entrepreneurial spirit is passion. I want to bring that to Revere.
You just mentioned Japan. How long were you there?
I lived there for about a year and a half. My wife was with me for about a year of that. I worked for 13 years for a Japanese e-commerce internet services company, and I moved over there to work at the executive level with our CEO office and work on some strategic data projects.
What city were you in? The big one or the?
I was in Tokyo. I lived in Shinagawa, which is one of the Tokyo is essentially a big city that's comprised of 12
provinces.
big cities.
Yeah.
It's one big city with 12 what they call wards there, but
Right.
each ward is probably the size of Manhattan.
Wow, that's pretty big.
Yes. So there's
And what is the population? Because I know they're loaded with people.
in
I mean,
Tokyo,
80,
I
90
believe
million.
it's in Tokyo itself, I believe it's around 45 million. Across the entire island, it's more. But yeah,
I mean, Tokyo itself.
Tokyo proper, the city.
45 million?
I believe that's the number. You'd have to check. You'd have
No,
to
no,
fact
no,
check me on that.
okay.
But it's a large city with a lot of people. One of my favorite experiences. I used to walk to work, but every once in a while I would take the subway, and things over there are just completely different. The city is spotless.
What is life there like compared to here?
Well, there's no crime. You see little kids. It's not
No
uncommon.
crime?
No crime. It's not uncommon to see little children, 3 years old, with their backpacks, getting on a public bus, getting on the subway
themselves?
by themselves. You see people that I had an experience. A friend of ours from church there. She left her bag on the train, and in Japan you typically get paid on a monthly basis. So she had her entire month's paycheck in her bag. Left her bag. Got off the train, realized it. The conductor said, "Don't worry about it. The train's gonna go to the end, come back." It did. He got on the train. The bag was right there. She took it, no problem. It's unreal. But one of the things I wanted to say is with the crowding, they have not necessarily conductors, but they have. I guess the closest thing would be like an usher, right, on the train tracks, fully dressed, white gloves, and their whole job is to push people into the train because there's so many people that the doors can't close.
You mean it's that crowded?
It's absolutely that crowded. It's absolutely that crowded. But it is a great city. I loved it. My wife and I, we had a fantastic time. We still have many, many friends there. And I look forward to going back to visit soon.
I can't imagine that. Now, did you do any sports over there? I don't mean the kind of sports, which I'll get to later, but I mean like swimming, fishing, or well, they do have mountains there.
No, they have mountains. I did actually. I hiked a mountain.
Which one?
As part of you're gonna test my Japanese here and my memory.
Not Fuji.
I did hike Fuji.
You did?
I did. My daughter came to visit, and we hiked Fuji. Fuji's actually not a mountain; it's a volcano. It's an active volcano. So we climbed up, and you literally get up there, and your hands and knees climbing.
You mean like a
through the
vertical
rocks.
cliff almost?
Almost. Not this vertical, but it's this. It's
inclined.
enough that you've got
Right.
It's hard work and you get dirty.
When I see the mountain climbers on TV, they have these hatches that they hit into the rock to grab it.
It wasn't to that level.
Oh.
But it was you're getting in there and they have chains and you kind
Right.
of pull yourself up.
Yep.
So we did that. Kayaking. We did a lot of kayaking up in the mountain areas. Soccer's huge over there. They have these huge outdoor complexes, so we played soccer.
Baseball, I assume,
Baseball's huge. Actually, I work for my company my former company, I should say, has a baseball team. The Nippon League baseball team is actually the team that the Yankees pitcher Tanaka came from.
Oh.
So when I was there, our team, the Rakuten Eagles, won the Nippon League championship, and then the next year he went to the Yankees.
Doesn't Ichiro come from there too? The one that plays for the...
Ichiro used to play, but not for my company's team, for a different team.
Oh.
So, and I've got a friend, they actually, believe it or not, have American football there. through church, we found the church in Japan, and became friends. An American guy played in college, and he actually plays in the professional league. And you know, it was the craziest thing. I went there. We went to the Super Bowl, the Japanese Super Bowl, and his team was playing. And I figured, okay, it was in Tokyo Dome where the Giants play. I figured, okay, this is the big dome. Place is going to be empty. It was sold out. It was packed, and it was so loud, and it was crazy, and it blew my mind, because you figure football's an American sport, and you don't really see it in too many countries outside of the States. But yeah, they have and you don't think of Japan as having a professional football league, but
They do?
Yes, sir.
I got to ask you a question. I know this is going to sound stupid, but I want to make sure Hollywood and Japan are on the same level. They show the people when they go into, like you're a guest invited into a Japanese house, let's say for supper. You got to walk in without your shoes. You sit on the floor. Literally, is that true today too?
Yes, it's that's true. That's true. It's very rare, actually. You have to be really considered a very close personal friend to be invited into someone's home.
Oh.
And yes, when you go into the homes, you take your shoes off. And traditional, in very traditional Japanese houses and families, and usually for certain types of meals, they'll have the very low table where you sit around.
Right.
You have that in restaurants. Actually, if you go to Japanese restaurants and they have the low tables where you sit.
You sit on the floor,
You sit on the floor, but you also take your shoes off at the restaurant. So that is true.
So the customs are still the same then?
They are. They are. It was a great experience. Loved it.
That's good. I'm glad. Tell us a little about their food there compared to the American food, because is it similar to Chinese food when Japanese is completely different?
It's completely different. The Chinese food there is completely different. The biggest thing I would say is the bigness or lack thereof. The portion sizes are small. You can get a steak. Well, we go to a restaurant here, and you get a nice, like right. I'll go and I'll get a nice ribeye, and talking about a 16-ounce, 18-ounce steak,
Pound, right?
Over there, you get essentially like a 6-ounce steak, and that's the big steak. Yeah, and they do it actually by grams, so you don't get large portions there. So that's the biggest thing, is getting around getting used to the small portions. But believe it or not, Tokyo is a foodie city. You can find. We went there, and what blew my mind is, and my ethnicity is Puerto Rican and Dominican. I found a Puerto Rican restaurant in Tokyo. I found Brazilian restaurants in Tokyo, Italian restaurants, French. The other thing, the bakeries there are maybe a notch below, just a small notch below France.
Interesting. One more question I want to ask
Please.
you about Tokyo. When I watch the movies, sometimes they have what they call the geishas, like their waitresses or servants. They still have them there when you were there, or they're gone?
No, it's more of a formal wear. So you'll see that in weddings or very formal events.
What is their job actually to do, the geishas?
It's actually just the dress. It's not a role. It's more of a formal wear, formal attire that you have.
That's pretty good. And how do they feel about us Americans while you were there today? Because we were at war with them many years ago.
Very, very friendly, very open.
I think they're our biggest ally in the
absolutely
out there
absolutely.
in the Pacific. Yeah,
our economies are very, very tightly linked. They are absolutely very close allies, and nothing but very, very positive experiences. Open people. Yes, it was very good.
Question.
Sure.
Tell us a little about your military, either yourself or your family.
I did not have the opportunity to serve. I actually came pretty close. In fact, I was recruited to play football at West Point. Really wanted to go to the military academy.
Let me make sure I heard you correctly. You had a chance to go to West Point,
I did. I went
and
through
you
the.
didn't take it?
Well, here's the story. I would have taken it. The process to go to a military academy is extremely long.
Oh, it
And
is?
if you are interested in a military academy, you actually have to start the process. Typically, you start applying for colleges when you're, the start of your senior year.
Right.
If you want to do a military academy, you have to start the middle of your junior year because the process takes that long. There are physical tests.
That's only
there
your
are
second year in high school.
your third year, the middle of your third year
Yeah,
in
right.
high school, you have to, because there are physical tests, there are mental tests, it's a longer process, there are interview process. I went through the entire process. The one piece I was missing was the congressional nomination, and I started too late. So they asked me
What
if
is
I
the,
wanted.
as a layman, what is the congressional nomination?
So in order to go to a military academy, you have to be nominated by one of your congressmen, and a congressman can only nominate 2 people to go to an academy in any given year. So it's a very highly competitive, and it's a lengthy process. I got to the end. They asked me, they encouraged me to go to their primary, which is basically like a senior year of school. And I didn't want to do a 5th year of high school.
I got a question for you. You said a congressman can only nominate 2. That means every congressman in the Commonwealth, each one gets a chance to nominate just 2, or only 2 for one state can go there?
Each congressman
Can nominate,
2. And this is what, this is going back to when I
Right.
applied. I don't know if the rules are the same or
right,
not.
when you applied.
But each congressman can nominate 2 people for acceptance into a military academy.
Right.
I believe it's a military. So you've got the 5 academies, right? Air Force, Naval Academy, the U.S. Military Academy, and the Coast Guard. 4,
Right.
the Coast Guard Academy.
Pretty good. Pretty
Yes.
good. I know a lot of people don't know, but you are a football player. You got the build of a football player, I know that.
Yes.
Did you ever, and you went to college. Did you ever play football in college?
Yes, I played.
I mean,
my freshman and sophomore year. I played St. John's University, which is Division I AA school. So I played a fairly high level of collegiate football. I was a defensive end.
Were you a quarter? Oh, defensive end.
Defensive end, and believe it or not, I was the runt of the litter. I was the small guy, but I was pretty quick.
What were the others? Elephants?
When you're on that line, it kind of felt that way. It kind of felt that way. So I was, I enjoyed it. But I started a family early in life, so I gave up football to focus on schooling and family.
I watch football today, except for a couple of guys, like the Chicago team. They had the refrigerator, a big heavy at one time on their 300 some odd pounds.
Yes.
But when
That was
I
a
see the
famous
play,
'85 Chicago Bears team.
Yep. But when I watch them today, the people that are playing, they're like 200 pounds, but they're very agile, very agile.
Oh, they're more than 200. If you look at, most of these guys are the small guys are 250, 6'7", right? The big guys are like 350.
But that's an easy sport to really get injured at. I hate to say this.
It really is. It really is. I coached my son and my daughter's teams, as they were growing up. I was really loved youth sports. I wouldn't let my son play college football. Pee wee football. It's too, in my opinion, I think it's too brutal of a sport over a long period of time. To a man, every single teammate of mine that I played with that started at the Pee Wee level had at least 2 surgeries. I had back surgery myself. I had herniated disc. Every single
Was
one
that
of my
from playing
guys.
football at school?
Yes, yes. So it takes a wear on your body. I really push more towards baseball and soccer. I love football. And my son I told him, when you get to high school, then you can play. He ended up opting to play baseball. He pitched. He was a pitcher, and he actually ended up going and pitching at the collegiate level as well.
Pretty good. Talking about schools, How do you feel about our new high school? Where would you like to see it built if you could?
That's a great idea. I think we need a new high school for sure. In terms of locations, I guess I'm not as I don't have that strong of a preference in terms of locations. I think it just needs we need to make sure that as we build out new capacity for our school, we also need to make sure that our schools have the cutting edge technology and equip our kids for the jobs of today and tomorrow. That means we need to rethink and to really to push. You know, we're having had a chance to live abroad. You know, as a country, I think we're a little behind, especially as you move into the Asian countries in the STEM, you know, the science, technology, and math subjects. We need to strengthen that. We need to put in the support, the support around that in terms of the types of classrooms, the technologies we use in school, the courses. I think we really, like I mentioned, you know, those three areas, those three industries in here that haven't been disrupted. Education's one of those, and we need to rethink our education. I'm all for. I definitely believe we need that. I think our schools are overburdened, our infrastructure is overburdened, and that's a big one of my areas of concern. One of the things that I'm passionate about. I think we see, and I'd love to see changing in the development in the city, and I love to see, you know, that transformation that's happening along the beach. I'm very concerned about, as we add thousands of units over the next few years, you know, if we're not paying as much or more attention to our infrastructure, our schools, our roads, our sewer system, our sewer and water, we're setting ourselves up for a significant issue down the road that our kids are going to have to face, or maybe even before our kids have to face it, we're going to have to deal with it, and it's going to be extremely costly the more we delay.
As you know, we have everything for Councillor At-Large in this country here, but in Japan, how do they have their government set up as compared, like, let's say, if the City of Revere, do they have the same thing like we have here, or their government is a little different? Locals?
Their government, for the most part, is set up very similar.
Similar to ours?
They have multiple parties. Again, I wasn't there that long that I really got involved in.
Is the emperor still the big thing, or he's just one of the average people now? The emperor?
Well, he's the emperor is there. He's more of a
figurehead.
A figurehead.
Right. Okay.
The CEO of my old company was very involved in politics there. And you have the prime minister, and within the local wards they have local governments just like we do, and they have regular, they have their periodic elections, so it's very similar.
Well, when I was a young man, very young, the emperor was considered a god. And people, when they saw him, they would bow, or they wouldn't see him, or maybe they saw him once in a blue moon. But today he's more outgoing with the people.
I know that they open up. I don't want to misspeak, right? Because I don't know specifically. But I know they open the Emperor's Palace only once a year.
Oh, so.
And you can go, but it's actually.
You mean 1 day a year?
1 day a year, but it's actually right in the middle of Tokyo.
Oh.
Now, specifically around appearances, public appearances, and things of that nature, I'm not sure.
Question: what are some of the holidays there? Like we have Christmas, Easter. What are some of their holidays?
Oh, so in Japan is a little bit different. The culture is around a very intense work schedule.
Oh, work.
So what they actually do is they have lots of holidays to give people a break. There's they'll have a couple of periods where, like in May, they have a holiday called Golden Week. New Year's is a very big family holiday. So there's actually, most of the corporations close for 2 weeks. The week before New Year's, on either side of New Year's,
Right.
a week off. So most businesses just shut down, and that's family time.
Oh, between
there's
the last
lots
week of
of-
December and the first week in January?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And there's lots of holidays in between, but a lot of that is lost in translation on me, so I couldn't tell you too specifics on it.
No, Dave, that's good. We got about 2.5 minutes left, so if you want to take 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes to wrap it up, go ahead.
Sure. So I want to be your voice. I really motivated to do this, to run for city council, because I see the potential in Revere. I have, my wife and I, we have heart for this and love for this city, and we want to see this city be all it can be. I want to be your voice. I want to be able to take in that input, and I feel that's one area in government as a whole that we really struggle in, and giving access to people. I think, my opinion, where you see most people is it's either the people who are most vocal and willing to complain, if you will, or be most vocal, or those that contribute the most. But the vast majority of us are in the middle, and we don't have his voice, and I want to be that voice. And it's not because I'm like I said, I'm a product guy. Ideas are kind of my thing, but it's not just about my ideas. It's about going into a room and coming out with a better idea than any one person who came into the room. And that's what I want to bring to Revere. I want to help make that potential a reality.
That's great, and I want to say, we've come down to the end now, Dave. I want to say it was an honor and a pleasure to have you come up.
It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Right? And so I wish you the best of luck. God bless
Thank
you.
you.
And I
Thank
hope
you.
you
God bless
succeed,
you.
whatever you're doing. I hope you succeed. Good luck to you. I want to say thank you to the people of Revere for listening. I want to say thank you to all our troops serving and those that haven't served.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for your service. I want to thank the people for Revere for listening again for us. But most of all, God bless our great country, the United States of America.